Now, this before and after you're seeing here is one of my students with my online lessons on Skillist. And at our start of our journey, he could not clear his hips at all. But then one small tweak that we made gave him that light bulb moment to be able to effortlessly open up his hips. And this only took a single lesson, because how we got him to open up his hips was to eliminate his excessive hip slide. As soon as we did that with a specific drill that we're going to show you here, he immediately started to clear his hips just like that. Now, in our very first lesson, when my student sent over his swings to me on Skillist, he, like we said, had a quite considerable hip slide coming into the downswing, where his hips really got towards the target, his upper body would tilt back. That would result in the club getting a little bit dumped under. And because he had all this hip slide, he couldn't clear and rotate his hips. So then the release pattern got very flippy and out towards the right. So easily hookable of a shot and easily blockable too. So one small tweak, like we said, was all we made, because for him, why he was having that, let's say, very lack of hip clearance and the slide was because his left side of his hips raised upwards. So he quickly lifted up that left side. And you can see as soon as you do that, the hips slide away, the upper body tilts back, and from the down line, you can see you get no rotation of the hips as you do that. So this is where the classic hip bump rears its ugly head. Bumping the hips to start that downswing is an absolute killer to the golf swing that so many golfers try to do. So getting rid of that concept of bumping the hips was huge, because all we did was really got that left side and kept that tilt. So left side lower than the right. We need to be tilted to the golf ball to be able to hit it. And that immediately got him to open up his hips. As you can see here for me, if I keep my left side down and I rotate, then you can see, look at all that hip rotation that I'm getting, to where if the left side lifts up, you're going to see there, it's really hard to turn. You just slide, you just tilt the upper body backwards, all those bad shots. So when we get that left side down, and what happened for us in that lesson was immediately the club started to fall a little bit more in front of him. So not over the top, in front as in more on path. And because then he was rotating, he maintained that path, and then the club face nicely stayed stable. So even there, getting that left hip down was so incredibly important. Just the tiniest little tweak on what that left hip is doing immediately got him to where he was clearing the hips just like that. Here's the drill we did to be able to get this. So the drill that we did, exactly what I talked about a good few weeks ago on my channel, and that is the stick in the belt loops. A lot of the stick coming out on the left, a tiny bit coming out on the right, because what this does for us, this lets us be able to see our hip tilt. Because if we are at the top of our swing, we're going to notice, okay, the stick's going to be tilted towards the ground, it's going to be pointing down. So okay, if we do our hip slide like my student originally did, left hip goes up, the stick immediately points up, and we can really see from the corner of our eye as well how much rotation we're getting. So it's great for a visual cue. So if you visual learners out there, really, really good. So cool. If we are getting our hip tilt, keeping that hip down, that left hip, that inclination to the ground, we're going to have a much easier time to now disappear this stick around me. So we want to keep the stick pointing down, as you can see here, and then disappear around. This was our drill, because as we can see straight away, the club moves a little bit more in front on path, and the club face nicely stays stable because of all that good quality rotation. Remember, if you want to straighten up your shots and you want to have more control over your club face, you have to turn your body more, because rotation controls that face. So that's where this one simple tweak gave him such good results straight from the get-go, straight out of that first lesson. So let's hit one here. And it just really promotes really nice striking. And a good thing that I really like about this as well, for a lot of golfers out there, and even for myself, I can be guilty, like a lot of you can, of not getting enough backswing turn. Because if we start here at the setup, we're going to notice the sticks to our left. If we get that stick going halfway to the golf ball, now we've just got a decent amount of turn, which gets the hands and arms around us, gives us room to be able to turn the downswing. So it's such a good multifaceted drill. So here's a good way to reframe this in your mind, because we said hip bumping, but instead let's bump the hips down. So bumping the hips down was not something that we really discussed too much of that terminology in our lesson. We were just talking about keeping the hip tilt. But for you guys out there, I think this will encapsulate it really nicely. So bumping the hips down. So bump down. What's that doing? That's getting that pressure into the left, really getting that loading into the ground, almost like you're squatting to the left-hand side. It's keeping your hip tilt, but immediately look at where this stick is going as soon as I bump to the left. So bump down. You can see it starts to rotate. So a lot of golfers who really struggle with that sequencing, if they just simply encapsulate and feel and have that mantra of bumping down, they get that initial separation of the lower body in transition. They get an adequate amount of weight shift. We still need to shift the weight, don't get me wrong, but it all gets in there very nicely just from that little terminology. So that's where we see guys out on tour who really do this amazingly well is Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler bumps his hips down like anything. He has loads of lateral movement, but he keeps that tilt of his hips all the way down through the golf ball, and he is absolutely the best iron player out in the world by far at the moment. That's why he's so dominant, because he's such a good iron player. He bumps his hips down, he doesn't bump it towards the target. So again, bump those hips down. I really absolutely recommend getting the stick, putting it through your belt loops, bumping it down, results in really nice strikes. It just gets everything open. I love it as well, just for, like we said, the rotation of the backswing, and then feeling like we're rotating nicely without trying in that downswing. So guys, as we can see with the real world results of what we've been talking about for a while on the channel, of eliminating the hip bump and getting that tilt going in there, we can see it works extremely well with, of course, my students. Everyone who does this absolutely starts striping it like anything. So this could absolutely be that final nail in the coffin to getting rid of that hip bump. We don't need it. It's going to make us terrible golfers. It will even hurt our back as well. So bump those hips down absolutely is the way to go. And if you want to work one-on-one with me, like on Skillist with my student here, you can absolutely do that. I've just launched a winter improvement plan. So for you golfers, Northern Hemisphere golfers who want to work on your swing over this off season, you can do that one-to-one with me. It gives you unlimited lessons, gives you all my video courses that are exclusively there on Skillist, gives you exclusive content, like little videos, just like here on YouTube that I haven't put on YouTube, I put on Skillist instead. So it gives you lots of extra content and that personal, unlimited one-on-one time with lessons with myself. So there's a link in description to go do that. And that's the best way to go and improve your game going into 2025. So we can make next year, next season, the best season you've ever had. So if you enjoyed this video, click that like button. If you want more golf instruction, just like this, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button too to be notified every time I put out a video.